Welcome to the Intuitive Eating Mama podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer D'Amato. I am an intuitive eating counselor and I'm also a mom to four. This podcast is not just for mamas, it's for all women who are ready to ditch diets, ditch the scale and food guilt forever, and instead invite peace with food, increase their body trust, and confidence in all of her choices. I believe this show is going to shed some light on sneaky ways diet culture has infiltrated your thoughts, your family, and your well-being. No matter the episode, I want you to walk away feeling informed, inspired, and encouraged. So whether you're taking a walk, washing the dishes, or carting kids around, let's dive into the latest episode on the Intuitive Eating Mama podcast. Well, hey there. I am dancing. That intro gets me every time. And yes, you can chair dance. You can sit in your car and dance. You can wash the dishes and listen and dance, or not. But I'm dancing. I don't know why it just has such a fun rhythm, and I really felt like it spoke to me, which is why I chose it. But here we are. It is episode 151. We're really just getting into season 4 because it's only the second episode of season 4. If you missed the bonus episode that was released on September 13th, it explains this new name, what we're doing here, which is all the same stuff, just under a new name that is just aligned with who I am as your host, and what we're going to be doing here for the next, I don't know, as long as I feel called to do this. All right, today I want to talk about something I actually think is more common than not, especially if you spent years dieting. That's probably almost everyone listening. What if you're not hungry? I hear this all the time from clients, but I'm not hungry. Like, what do? I just don't feel hungry. It's a great question, and one that I want to give you something to try and kind of explain even why it might be that way. I don't think anyone would argue with me that you're born with biological cues for hunger. If you've ever been around an infant, you know. You know without a shadow of a doubt when they're hungry, their body signals and they scream, cry, something. Listen, if you have one of those amazing babies that doesn't really do all of that, I think you are highly blessed and favored. All of my kiddos cried when they were hungry. I mean, it was this signal, and the only way they could communicate was sometimes a blood-curdling scream. And of course, that cry got louder and louder if I happened to be, I don't know, trying to shower or feed another kid, because there are 4 of them. And there were a couple times in my life where there were very small ones and multiple of the small ones. So somebody inevitably had to wait. The cry would get louder or turn into that scream. And man, I'd probably be crying by the end of it too. I kind of block some of those memories out. If you're a mama listening, you know what I mean. You block that out. But I say all of that to remind us this is how your body was built. It has these cues, these signals. We don't need to get into all the sciencey stuff of what's released in the digestive system that signals and does all that. We don't need to get there. We just know this is intuitive. To be hungry is intuitive because our body wants to stay alive. Again, I really don't get a lot of people arguing that point, but what happens with dieting is we're taught, we're told, we're pressured, we're convinced to not honor hunger, to put it off as long as possible. Oftentimes, the reason behind that is to eat less. And the reason we think we need to eat less is because we're trying to lose weight. And why are we trying to lose weight? We're trying to lose weight because we believe there's something wrong with the size of our body. We're told all these other messages that our body should be smaller. Our body at one time was smaller, so now we have to get back to that body. And we're in this cycle keeping us disconnected from hunger. Now, it's very possible the longer you're in this cycle, the quieter hunger signals get. It's kind of this really interesting thing. And I always say it's a long distance friend. I have one, my best friend. We've literally only lived near each other at the beginning of our friendship for I don't know, 6 months. It's crazy. This is a time way before cell phones. There is no internet. We went to high school together freshman year. She moved, left the high school. We had to call on a home phones to talk, schedule times to get together. And we did. We hung out. But we have spent the last 21 years across the country from one another. Now, we have this deep friendship, it's deeply connected, kind of like your hunger. But if we don't stay connected with each other, talk, know what's going on in each other's lives, it's kind of disconnected. It feels more distant. And if we did that, we eventually get on the phone, we'd probably have to spend so much time sharing to catch up. We wouldn't even feel as close. You might even hear often long distance relationships, long distance friendships, they just kind of fade out. And then maybe you see that person, you're like, hey, how are you? I've no ill feelings, we're not connected anymore. Your hunger signals are that long distance friend right now. If you're like, well, I'm just not hungry, I'm never hungry, I don't feel hunger, they're there. They still exist. They're just not feeling very connected to you. Years of dieting keeps that distance. Years of dieting tells your hunger signals, you might as well be quiet, she ain't listening. Don't bother, she's not going to do anything. Because what happens when we ignore those hunger signals at the beginning? Can you remember that feeling? It hurts. It physically hurts to ignore your hunger. Now, you may be far from that experience and you don't have those physical pains anymore because, again, your body adapts. Your body's like, well, I guess we're just not feeding. But what do you notice? What do you notice about hunger later? Does it feel ravenous, out of control? Does it feel like you can't get enough food to feel satisfied? Yeah. It tells you, though, your hunger signals, they're there. They're alive. They're just really, really quiet because they're so used to ignoring them. And oftentimes I hear it at the beginning of the day. Put off eating as long as you can. I think Weight Watchers program, that diet, is the worst for this. You have X amount of points. Save them up for dinner time. Save them up for later in the day. I don't care what they rebrand as. I don't care what they're putting out there now with their WW. It's all the same premise. The same thing, I was a macro counter in my highly disordered eating. And I knew I had limited numbers. Well, if I can put off eating, if I can just hold out, I can eat more later. That's not how our bodies were created. And I realize you're no longer that infant. We're no longer the infant screaming. Your body at one point was. Your body at one point, your stomach would hurt. The pains would be unbearable because you weren't eating. And you pushed it down, you pushed it down. I know you don't feel hunger right now, but it's there. And you want to know the great news? You can wake it up. You can pick up the phone, dial that number, and make that call and be like, hey, how the heck are you? Let's catch up. Let's reconnect. You want to know how that happens? This might blow your mind too. You eat. So something I teach my clients about is practical hunger. Practical hunger, you might not feel hungry, but you know it's been hours. And sometimes the hours, it's been 7, 8, 9, 10, because you've been sleeping. You had dinner, you went to bed, you got up. It's been hours. And you've been so used to not eating. You've been putting off eating food. Yeah, I hear this from clients. Well, I'm just not even hungry till 11, till 1 p.m. in the afternoon. But they feel like garbage. They have no energy. They feel like they can't get enough food from that point on the rest of the day. So they utilize practical hunger. They have something to eat in the morning. They know they haven't been eating for, anywhere from 8 hours or longer, depending on when they last ate, sleeping, and they have something. And it's so amazing when they utilize this, those clients that need this and reawaken their hunger. They're like, I can't believe how much better I feel. I love that session. That's like one of my favorites when they're like, wait a minute. I actually do have more energy. And I notice at night over time, like I don't feel out of control. I don't feel like I'm, eating up until bedtime. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. And that's not what this is about. This is about reigniting that hunger. And they just are like, I'm actually satisfied before 8, 10 p.m., whenever that is. They reconnect with their hunger signals by honoring their hunger, utilizing practical hunger. Because we want our signals to be the thing that tells us we're hungry. But if they are not doing that because we've told them we're not talking anymore, we're not communicating, we might need to invite them back in. And it is intentional. It is you picking up the phone. It is you connecting by having something to eat. Now, you can utilize practical hunger in other ways. I've talked about that in other aspects where you're really, really busy. You're going to be on the go. You will be going hours without eating. So you have something before you do that. I have a lot of clients who, if they run a lot of errands between, school pickup with their kids and then getting home and sports and all of this, they're like, I just eat a little something before I go because then I'm not hangry. I'm not, out of my mind or getting the shakes and getting dizzy and nauseous, which can happen when you've gone hours and hours without eating. It's taking that same principle of practical hunger and helping you reawaken those hunger signals, honoring your body. It might take time, and I can't give you like, it'll take you 2 weeks and then all of a sudden you'll feel your hunger signals. I can't say that. It really is different for everyone. But what I can tell you is you might notice other things like your energy increasing, like not feeling out of control with food later in the day, like feeling more satisfied. So if you are noticing, I'm just not hungry, I don't feel hungry at all, or I don't feel hungry until later in the afternoon, what if you tried utilizing practical hunger? Noting for yourself how many hours it's been since you've eaten. Yes, you were sleeping. There were, all of that, your morning routine, but maybe it's been 8, 9, 10 hours, whatever that looks like. And to remind yourself, the body needs nutrition and energy in the form of calories to be able to keep going, to function, to do all the things you have to do. That's a long time to go without eating. Utilize practical hunger. It might be a snack size meal. You might decide you want to try on more of a meal like breakfast. You want to have some protein, some fat, some carbohydrates, or at least pair a couple of those together and then notice how you feel eating it. Notice how you feel after, and then notice what happens over time throughout the day. I know right now we are living in a diet culture filled with fasting. Your body is already fasting, my friend. Your body is fasting while you sleep. Our bodies were not meant to go hours and hours and hours without food. If you are looking to reignite those hunger signals and you want to honor your hunger, even when they're not that loud, you can utilize practical hunger. You can honor your body, honor yourself in this way. I hope this was helpful. This is one of those like really practical episodes, something tangible you can take with you. If you try this out, if it's something you really needed, would you do me a favor? Hop over to Instagram, Jennifer_health coach for life. Go into the DMs, let me know. I would love to hear from you. I'd be able to encourage you. And if you have questions further about that, I can answer them there. All right. This was a pretty good one for our second episode of season 4. I'm still pumped. I really still feel like dancing. So I think when I end here, I'm going to go put some music on and jam out in my office. All right, until next week. Have you ever just found yourself saying, I wish I had a better body image? Like, I just wish I felt better in the body that I'm in. Well, I got you. I have this amazing 5-day challenge to have a better body image. And guess what? I can send it to you right through email starting today. Other women just like you who've joined me for this event have given me amazing feedback saying, I never thought of this. I've never used this technique. This strategy, this tool that you've given me has been so helpful. Well, I want you to have that experience as well. So head into the show notes wherever you're listening and click Build a Better Body Image event. I'll send you that first email as soon as you sign up. If you want to, you can head to my website, www.healthcoachforlife.com/better body image. I can't wait for you to join this event, and I can't wait for you to improve your relationship with your body. All right, let's go.